Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Real Talk. Today, we're going to talk about real estate, real life, real fun, and some real conversation. Welcome back to Real Talk. I'm joined again with our attorney for our team and mine personally, Matthew Petriello. Welcome back to Real Talk.
Thank you so much for having me again. Happy to be back.
Yes. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things, mainly real estate today, because that's who we are, right? You're a real estate attorney.
Day to day, every day, yeah.
Yes. And obviously we sell and run a team here. So one thing I wanted to talk about is the market. How do you see the market right now?
So, and no one knows better than you and your team, of course, real estate can be hyper-local.
Yes.
Right? So nationwide, you are seeing, after so many years of this incredibly strong seller's market, you are seeing pockets nationwide.
Absolutely.
Flipping a little bit the other direction. Austin's been in the news and those kind of things.
Being a buyer's market.
In those areas. Although again, nobody knows better than you. But in our hyper-local area, you still are seeing a strong seller's market from what I see from my desk.
Do you know my new favorite word?
What?
I taught my team, not taught my team, we've been talking about it a lot, situational.
Okay.
So every home is a different situation.
Sure.
Okay. So every home, based on where you're located, what your features are, whether you are move-in ready, obviously pricing is super important. That's a situation.
Sure.
And then the other situation, which I think you just said, is our location. So the Northeast is a different situation than the rest of the country.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you saw that report that came out. It's about 2 or 3 weeks old now. But 07470, the zip code, Wayne was the number 5 fastest selling real estate market in the country. In the country.
Yeah. We've had, I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but it is, middle of October, everybody? Middle of October. So right now, October's a weird month in business for real estate. Yeah. You have the holidays, you have people off of school.
Weather changing.
If it's nice on the weekends, everyone's picking pumpkins and apples. So I do see a difference. October's always been, since COVID, I always call it a strange month, right, in the real estate industry.
And sure, and there's a peak as far as overall transaction volume, and that spring market, that summer market is obviously a cliche because it's true. You know what I mean? And you'll tend down. So September was still very busy.
We had a great September.
Yeah, very busy, I thought. And then the last 2-3 weeks, again, it's the middle of October right now. The last 2-3 weeks, the natural cycle of the year.
Yeah, well, we have our team meetings on Thursday, and we announced how many deals we had on Thursday. Which was yesterday because today's Friday. And we got 4 deals yesterday. So I was like, okay, so we'll take it, right? 2 listings sold, 2 transactions came in. So, it is ups and downs. But as I said to you, and I think you agree, the market's situational.
Agree. And that geographic, you can't, when clients of mine are asking questions about, is it changing? Is the leverage, have a buyer or a seller asking, is a leverage position changing? Well, if you watch national news, you can't apply that to hyper-local New York metro area.
The other thing that's really strange is Manhattan real estate is doing very well. So we follow, in my opinion, California, right?
Okay.
And then Manhattan follows California.
Okay.
And then New York City, we follow kind of we're a little bit delayed from New York City.
Certainly that part I feel myself.
Yeah. So right now Manhattan's doing great. So that's also a little confusing because the rest of the country is not. So
the demand has just been still to this day is still unrelenting. The pent up demand is
well, you can steal the word situational too, just saying. But I also, one thing I think is really important, yes, interest rates are definitely going down. But I feel we're going to see sellers coming back into play. So yes, you're going to have more buyers buying because of the interest rates going down. But I feel there's a lot of sellers kind of sitting on the fence of saying, should I go? Should I sell? Am I going to lose money? Am I going to make money? And this may be the last, not the last hurrah, but the biggest, the end of the big hurrah.
And I always have been saying to, again, buyer clients for so many years now, that there's going to come a point where everybody's got these 2.5%, 3% loans at when they go to buy the new house at 7%, they weren't going to do it.
Yeah.
Now it's 6%. It's really going into the 5s. I closed one this morning, high 5s, right? So there's going to be that net difference where those sellers are going to start pulling the trigger. Okay, I have a 3.25% loan. The new one's going to be 5.25. I have all the equity from the price increases, and we can pull the trigger. And then whenever that happens, everybody's been talking about it for years, but whenever that happens, you might see the balancing out in our hyperlocal area.
And also, this market cannot last forever. It's like, I keep saying this. And actually, our TC says, stop saying it. I'm like, well, it's true. But she's like, you've been saying it for 3 years. I'm like, I know, but it's still true.
The law of economics of a business cycle,
it goes
you would
up and
think
down.
at some point we're going to turn a corner, but it's been I don't want to use the word stubborn because so many people have benefited from it. It's been a persistent, demand driven. And one nice thing that, again, from my desk, from my perspective, is that it's been driven by pure economics as opposed to like 2007, where it was like a government-fueled spur. This is just supply and demand, the most basic fundamentals of economics, spurring price increases and demand and the lack of
Well, I'm not trying to be rude, but I was looking up something. There was a graph that came out, and of course now I can't find it, stating, so I love to follow Keeping Current Matters. If you're a real estate agent, or if you care about the economy of real estate, it really is something that they do a wonderful job keeping us informed. So they have a stat that housing market forecast for 2026 is to sell over 1.3 million more homes in the United States
than the previous year?
In 2025 predicted. So in the United States, predicted for 2025, and Josh, you can put this up on the screen. So interesting. 2024 was 4.753 million. 2025 is 4.817. If you do the math, it's about $100,000.
Barely up just a little bit.
2026 is going from 4.8 million in 2025 to 5.257.
Well, now that would have an effect. If
that
that's what does happen. If that supply, again, the basic economics of it, if that supply comes into the market, maybe you do see a turning of the corner. But.
Yes. So it says with mortgage rates projected to ease slightly and home prices moderately, buyers and sellers, both, activity will pick up. And I think that's, I mean, as I said before, you just can't, the inventory is going to pick up a little bit. That will keep the market prices high, not like they have been, but you're going to have the buyers and the sellers selling, I feel, in our area.
I agree.
That's my prediction.
I agree. Yeah. And I also think, interestingly, that inventory is going to go up, but I still think so much pent up demand that the inventory going up, it's not going to go up enough to decrease prices. It's going to go enough where there's more transactions, but the demand is still going to outweigh the supply in our area, I think.
Well, I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again, and you can also steal this if you're listening. So in 2018, in March, there was 378 homes in the market in 2018 in Wayne in March. The highest we've seen since COVID is 60. So 378, there was years that it was 25 homes. I mean, we're still seeing an incredible seller's market. So it is I wish I could sell. I've said that too.
So many buyers, when they get to me during the attorney review phase or when I do the intake, I'm still hearing those stories of like, oh my God, we've put in 9 offers. Yes. We finally, can we get through attorney review quickly? Because we finally got one that signed with us. And I'm still hearing those stories a lot.
So speaking of those stories, we did plan to talk about one thing. We have an offer out on a house. There's 12 offers on the property. It is in Wayne. And the sellers accepted another offer. They did come back to us and asked us if we would come up. We did come up. Then another offer came up. So there's a lot of craziness. Sure. Now, I strongly feel, sorry, and this is not to become difficult here or, this is just, sorry again. I feel it's this listing agent's responsibility to completely control the transaction. And it's a listing agent's responsibility to somewhat guide the sellers on what should be done and how it should be handled. Because what's happening now in this situation, and I feel terrible, our buyer has come up 3 times after a bidding war.
Right.
So it's, I understand. How about doing a second bidding war? How about, which I hate, but listen, we have 3 equal offers. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be something that makes an offer stand out to benefit a seller.
Sure.
You agree?
The price matters, but terms also matter.
Terms are so important.
So important.
So to say you have 3 equal offers, I kind of find hard to believe.
It's a narrow way to view an offer.
Correct. Yeah. Plus, agent who you work with matters. So the team or the agent who's representing the buyer matters as much.
The lawyer on the other side too.
Well, the lawyer. Oh my gosh.
Will matter too.
So when you're in a transaction, the selling agent matters, the listing agent, because that's who's in charge. Mm-hmm. The buyer's agent has to get it to the closing table. Mm-hmm. You have 2 attorneys, a seller's attorney, buyer's attorney. That's why we ask, who's your attorney? Sure. The mortgage company. So there's so much that goes on.
So many more. Yes,
so we're being told that all these offers are now being sent to the attorney for the seller and the attorney to review.
Okay.
I get it. I do understand it. I've done it in situations where I don't want to take responsibility for the decision, but I feel strongly that they should take this one, and the sellers aren't really sure. So let's get a second opinion, right? Let's call Matthew, see what he has to say.
And
let's
all
call
a team and more counsel is
correct.
sometimes
let's
a good,
call
sometimes
Fred,
a good thing.
Whoever it is.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I think a lot of this has to do with one of the things you said before, who you pick as your team in a real estate transaction, I always believe is the biggest indicator to success of whether or not you're going to get to the closing table. The team that you put together is so important as to whether or not you're going to get there. But as far as this specific item in the offer phase, that team also needs to do their own jobs.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to give an opinion on a home inspector about what they're saying about the electrical system, some outlet or some electrical box matter. They know, they're the expert on that. They know what they're doing. So if there's multiple bids and the difference between the bids is not about market value or price or other things like that, but some overly complex legal term of a 1031 exchange or something like that, that's my lane.
Correct.
What the market value of the home is, what it should sell for, those kind of things is very much a realtor's lane.
Well,
so I think if we each
negotiate
do our
for a
own
living.
piece, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I do the transactions, but I don't know how much the condo over there is worth.
Yeah.
I don't know that. That's not my area, right?
Yeah, stay in your
so
lane.
Everybody doing their own job as a unit to come to a consensus, I think is valid. But going to the attorney to, again, asking them things that they don't know might not be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Also,
two things that you said, which I think are so important. I've called you how many times to not pick your brain, but am I going crazy? Am I right? So there's a difference between saying to your seller, I think we should call your attorney to verify this, to make sure you're protected. But then also not taking the responsibility. And one of your favorite words is courage, right? Not owning the fact you're the listing agent. Mm-hmm. So this is not I want to make it very clear, this is not to trash other realtors. This is saying, you know what? Sometimes, take the courage, be a little bit more confident in what you do, and it will help them in their business.
And again, the choice that seller made as to the choice
Correct.
Of the listing agent, the team you put together, I see it every week in my office. You see a file that could go good or bad, and the team that it is going to determine which
Absolutely.
way it goes.
Well, because I've said countless times forever, let's say the house is $650,000. So you're going to get $5,000 more, but you're going to lose $650,000. So with the home inspection, yes, you're going to give $1,000 as a credit. You're going to have $5,000 as a credit for something valid. Mm-hmm. But if you don't give the $5,000, you're going to lose $645,000.
And also the same, I just had one yesterday where we had a mortgage offer at $630, and we had I had a conversation yesterday about between multiple offers, and we had a cash offer at $625, and the couple who was selling couldn't get over the $5,000, but it's not just the money; it's also the likelihood that you're going to get the money.
Correct.
And both of those terms matter too.
I had a seller recently that did not want to give $299 as a credit for a $900,000 house. And I said to them, listen, there's not a financial advisor out there that would not recommend. I said, I'll give you $300 if you want to give me $927,000. Like, come on, let's like the lottery here. Let's just take the money. So, all right. So we've talked about that. Real quick, like, because we have a lot to cover in a few minutes. Mansion tax. Any really big drama? I don't see it.
No, there has been very little. So, right, the law changed. One, it's now a graduated. It used to just be $1 million and
it's
up,
just
1%.
More money.
Every $1 million now, it's more money, obviously, at a gross calculation, but also a higher percentage. Every million you go up 1%, 2%, and therefore.
But sellers are paying it now.
And they switched they couldn't. The statute can't actually force the sellers to pay it, right? Okay. But what the regulation did was change the realtor form contract from buyer to seller. And sellers have had, I've had zero pushback so far. They're all just...
Do you think it's going to change the new governor? I do not. I don't see the state giving back money, and that's not a political statement.
I think both, to be apolitical about it, I think both sides of the aisle.
They want the money.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to be getting money back.
No, I don't see them changing that law.
Yeah.
And what do you think the biggest mistakes sellers make when they are selling their home?
The biggest mistakes I see the most from sellers.
I'm sorry.
That's what
it's not a mistake. That's a rude word. Okay. What do you think it would be your advice to a seller?
Sure.
Okay.
The biggest one is what I would say, and to put it again as best I can, that I understand and sympathize and empathize. This is your home. This is where your family grew up. You've been here for all of these years. You have all of these beautiful memories, and no home will ever be your home again.
Correct.
All of that is true. On the other side, very often selling and buying a home is the biggest financial transaction of someone's life.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
So it needs to be dealt with on a business aspect as well.
So they have to remove some emotion and also realize they're not selling a brand new home.
Right, and like home inspections come up.
Correct.
No, I don't care. New construction,
they find
you could get a 120-page report with 30 pages of defects.
Correct.
Right, like it's going to happen to you too.
I also think, and sorry, home inspectors, that sometimes home inspectors, if something is perfect, like brand new, they have to do a little bit more digging because it's like, this is a brand new home.
And it's easier
so
to
it's
have
their
defects.
job. It's their job to really find what could be wrong with it structurally. Most of the time, 99% of the time, they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. But in a home that's 75 years old, there's more obvious things.
Sure.
So I think that's kind of a challenge. All right, buyers, the biggest mistake or the biggest advice that you have for buyers.
Sure. Well, actually, I would go right back to what you had said earlier. In this market, in our area, buyers should be, and in New Jersey, are uniquely able to be courageous. If you like a house, if you think this is the home for you, making an offer in New Jersey is something that a buyer should not hesitate to do, because you could put in the offers, and not to make the realtors do more work, but you could put in the offers. If it winds up not being the right house, we could always cancel it in attorney review. You have an just by notice. You could terminate within that time period in the beginning only. You could terminate just by notice. Right. You could get into a deal. If it doesn't seem right for you, you could get out. So being courageous, especially in this kind of market, is
you're never going to be 100%. I always say to all my sellers and buyers about a decision, but we want you to be excited about it. Sure. Right? And sometimes selling a home, obviously there's circumstances you're not going to be excited about. But as a buyer, you want to love it. You want to have courage and make the move. You have to make the first step.
Right. And if you think you want it, you can take that first step protected by the New Jersey laws and the case law that allows that attorney review. Yeah. You're not like it's not quite the same in other states.
No.
But in New Jersey, you have that pure, both sides, by the way, too. Sellers are protected in the same way. You have that second bite at the apple.
Yeah. So, I know we have a lot of realtors listening. So what do you think, what would your advice be, or something that kind of drives you a little crazy, as an attorney for realtors? What should we do better?
I want to start out with all the gratitude that I feel. Of course,
yes. Okay, let's move on from that.
Let's start with that up front.
You don't have to have the BS on Real Talk.
I almost hit it. I almost touched on it before, to be 100% honest with you, and just to expand on it a little bit. We're a team. We all are one unit as a team. Realtor, attorney, surveyors, home inspectors, title association, title companies, the whole team is a team, but doing your own job is super important. Everybody's staying in their own
So don't be annoying.
Like, but you know what? There's things where the communication between me and the realtors is always super important, but there's particular topics in which it's more important. What may distract from our overall goal, our client's overall goal of closing, is something like, Matt, I read over the attorney review letters, the 3 of them that have gone back and forth, and I think it should be this way, or I've seen it this way. Well, I'm always happy to have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's generally going to be like distracting off of the goal of the client to move forward.
So
They can make people nervous. They can make people nervous.
Agents don't use this against me or, anyone. I always say with attorney review letters, guess when I read them?
When they're done?
No, when I get a call with like, what does that mean? Why aren't we out? And I'm like, oh, okay, let me look. Let me read. I'll get back to you. Yeah. My job is not the attorney review letter.
Right.
My job is to get it into attorney review, get it out of attorney review. The attorney does their job, and then we have the next steps.
Like, let me give you an example.
I'm not an attorney.
Let me give you an example from last week.
Okay.
There's a very famous case when it was a Realtor Bar Association lawsuit that created the current structure. But there's a very famous case which basically says like an attorney does not have a line item veto over a contract. You can't say it's acceptable other than this. You have to say the entire thing is disapproved and these are the modifications, right? So every attorney knows that's the language that's expected, right? So it's at the beginning of every one of our letters, including mine. And I get a new client, we do the intake, I get into attorney review on day 1, and the realtor calls the client, telling them about this language in the beginning. What do you mean we're terminating? We want this. Yeah. I'll get in touch with this person or that person. And by the way, didn't call me, right? And all that did was distract.
Correct.
All that did was
distract. So I actually, when I get the attorney review letters, I do see them. I'm not stupid.
Always copied.
So I'm always copied. So I'll look and I'll go, oh, wait, it's disapproved. Oh, it's canceled. Wait, terminate. I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's just saying with these situational facts afterwards, right? So we are disapproving this contract.
These are the modifications.
And these are the modifications.
That's right.
But the language is a little scary.
But stay in your lane. And you got to trust the team.
Or call and ask a question before you create drama.
Also true.
Yeah.
That would be nice too.
So,
but you got to trust each other. You got to trust each other that you're going to do the job. It would be like me calling that listing agent and say, do you think we could have got $10,000 more on the, oh my, like I can't even.
Yeah, no, stay in your lane, people. Or maybe get a hobby. No, I'm kidding. No, get a hobby and go sell another house. That's what I always say. Whenever I get super stressed out or anxious about something, I'm like, just do something for work, right? Just keep going, keep the machine going. So we're, as I think we said on this one or the last one, we're in middle of October.
Yes.
So are you excited about the holidays or kind of dreading them?
Sure.
No,
I got to be honest. The little kid thing has rejuvenated
kids.
It a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Where it's still like they're young, 9 and 7, right? So like full on Halloween costumes,
so
and we'll go
cute.
trick or treating, and we're gonna look ridiculous, and it's gonna be so. It has rejuvenated these kind of.
My youngest is moving out. Did you hear? He's leaving us. He's moving out of the nest, so we're gonna be officially empty nesters.
And the pictures of like your kids getting married, like I can't even.
So upset. You talked about your daughter made herself a bride with AI.
Oh my God, the AI. One of my cousins took pictures of these 2 nieces and AI'd them as like 25-year-old brides.
That's so crazy.
I was like, never.
You're like, no, I cannot do that.
I'm not ready.
It's kind of crazy. I do love the holidays. I was talking to one of my best friends this morning, and I was like, I don't know. I don't want to decorate for Christmas before Thanksgiving because I'm doing Thanksgiving and I want it to be fall. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but Christmas is so short. And I was obsessing about when I'm going to decorate for Christmas. And it's October. So I don't know. I think we all just need to calm down.
There's a little window there.
Yeah, there is. Well, I'm so excited for you to have all those trick-or-treaters and the costumes and Santa. So that's really, really fun.
Big blow up Frankenstein.
Oh, that's great. So enjoy it. And I'll just figure out when I'm going to decorate.
I'll send you a picture.
Exactly. So thank you so much, Matt, for joining us once again on Real Talk, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.